Well, welcome back as it's time for our second series of 3 crumbs. I don't know if we're going to be able to top the last game we just had, but we're surely going to try.
Yeah, we sure will. I didn't know if we could top even just yesterday's games, but today we got a 1v5, so I am entirely open to being surprised because these two teams have been pretty surprising this split, to say the least. I think Dignitas has been a team that has not hesitated in just adapting to new strategies on the fly. They currently have Soligo, and he has been just showing off. He's been playing Akali many games and just getting so many kills, so many outplays on this pick. I think he's really fighting for that LCS spot once again, and it's cool to see that players see the opportunity in Academy as one where they need to prove themselves even more.
Yep, on the TSM side, of course, we'll look at the rosters quickly. Haunter, Hyper Sword, Cody Sun, and Yursan. Pretty different roster for TSM Academy than we saw in the last split. Obviously, Babbitt leaving is kind of the big one there. Still have Sword, one of the players from like their junior squad they've been building up to and around for quite a while, so definitely a player that's always fun to watch. But we'll have tough competition as Soligo has made his way back down. Not that Isui isn't a threat either, to be perfectly honest, alongside Lolo, Acadian, Spawn, and JJ for the Dignitas side, as a lot of good and talent in Dig. That seems to be the thing that maybe they're looking to invest in as an org. And it is cool to see them, again, also using their systems to move players back and forth for whatever reasons the team might have. But Dig, I feel like in a lot of different iterations of maybe this core, so Acadian, Lolo, plus others, they've often been very good in the early stages of Academy. So I'm curious to see how they match up here today and how their season goes in general, of course, because when they get the ball rolling, they don't stop. Crumbs. Dignitas are very like momentum-based team in a lot of ways, and I think maybe in part that's due to the way Acadian plays, but maybe just the way they're coaching is. I don't really know, but I'm excited to find out how they're going to open up these 2 games.
It kind of translates to their play inside the game as well, too, where the early is often their strength, being able to win these early team fights, even in the mid game. But then when it comes to the late game, where things are on a knife's edge, where the advantages that they might have previously earned could easily be undone by a single play, that's when the team can falter a lot. So I think it's a theme that the whole team experiences throughout the play and the actual standings on their split. So it's something that I think they continue to work on, and with the games just ending so quickly nowadays, well, I think that this could actually benefit them if they can just hone in on winning early and driving it home with the compositions that do so. They could entirely solve that problem and never have to worry about closing games again.
All right, we'll see what happens here in the draft now, as it is going to be TSM Academy on the blue side, up against Dignitas QNTM Academy. I forget the Academy part. Time catch banned away. Definitely not something we've seen as much of, but is pretty prevalent in the meta, especially alongside the likes of Senna. Gwen getting banned on the red side shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. I think in general, people want to stay away from that champion. She's just so good. Lucian is kind of a cool one. TSM Academy using their blue side flexibility in some of these bans to take away a bit more targeted of a champion. Lucian definitely a very powerful solo laner. And then Karma going to get banned away. I'm very curious if Karma and Lulu are just going to continually get traded, as Akali, very smart ban there, away from Soligo or Lolo, going to get taken off the board as well.
Yeah, I think now the trade will include the Lulu and the 2 picks that Cloud9 early prioritized, the Lee Sin and the Set. Those 2, in combination with the Lulu, seem to be making the majority of the first picks, whether it's on blue side or red. So the QNTM here has to make the choice. Which of them are you giving up, or are you having
none of
all
them
3 available? Because all 3 combinations work. So if TSM Academy take 1, Dignitas can take 2 instead. They can actually now just take something entirely different. Diggs can take 2 for it, and they'll still be happy with their draft at the end of the day. So TSM Academy goes for the Rumble, but Acadian won't shy away from any experimental picks like the Fiddlesticks or the Diana if he thinks it's good into it.
All right. So notably, Rumble to me indicates we're probably not playing Lulu. That's how I feel, right? Because you don't really want to pair Lulu with Rumble. I think you want to pair Lulu. I mean, you can, but I think you want to pair Lulu more with, stuff like the Zin and other AD carries as well. Typically, you want both of those things in your Lulu comps if you can get them. The teams actually might avoid it entirely. Lee Sin first pick here for Dig is pretty standard stuff. I believe Acadian played it yesterday when they played He's going to be Thresh here as well for JJ. So lots of different options here for DIGA, actually. I kind of like staying flexible here. I think Lee Sin is always good if you can pick him early, and Thresh opens up, Jinx and that kind of thing as well, right? Typically, bot laners don't want to play the more immobile, more scaling carries when they don't have the added safety of something like a Thresh or a Tahm Kench. So getting Thresh opens you up alongside all the other options like Kai'Sa and Tristana and stuff that you'd have anyway.
Exactly. It keeps those safe, but Nautilus Rumble is still strong enough to actually get past that. And now there's a set on top of it. So this Thresh, if he's trying to play Lantern Duty to keep somebody alive from Depth Charge Equalizer, he's going to have a really hard time peeling for that one. So Dignitas has to be careful here to not over-index in protecting the carry in a composition. They can wait to see what the draft spells out for them before they decide to go in that direction. I think that even now, though, the TSM Academy composition can spin off in a very interesting way. Because you mentioned the Lulu pairing, and Lulu right now, I think the strongest synergy she has isn't even with the jungle, but rather with the Kog'Maw. The Kog'Maw Lulu that we see in the bot lane is, even if the Lulu is in the mid lane, just being able to pair those two together is a tried and tested combination for millennia in League of Legends at this point. It has been so good every time it's meta, and so it's something that makes it so that you not only have a strong engage, but then there's somebody to follow it up. It's a better way, I think, to protect carries right now. Instead of focusing on keeping them alive, you just have so much disruption in the front line and in the engage that the enemy is too distracted to try to dive them.
All right, we'll see what happens here in phase 2, because Na and Set were traded in the last few picks. Also of note, I misspoke earlier, Sword is not actually playing in this game. TSM have, as far as I'm aware, a new mid laner. Maybe new to this week, maybe new to this day, but Takeover in the mid lane instead. Another young player similar to Sword, although from Chile, actually, which is pretty cool. So Trist, Nocturne, Zoe, Diana all banned away here, so no Diana here for Acadian. Acadian, again, did play the Lee Sin last time in the jungle, but they can always move that around. I'm sure Saligo and Lolo would be fine on the champ as well. And I guess somewhat predictably, it is going to be a Jinx hover, at least for Spawn. Makes sense with the Thresh, but we'll give Dig some time to wind down the clock here.
Yeah, Spawn choosing his poison. This, he knows, is going to be a very difficult game to pilot this Jinx, though. So he's up for the task, locking it in. The team has to play around it, though. It's important that the carry actually has a team to keep him safe. It's not just his job. The enemy team has to play Peel really effectively for him. So they're going to just all in on having Jinx as a guaranteed form of damage. But now you're going to add even more members to the mix in the diving party that TSM has assembled. Just give us another diving champion, one more for good measure, somebody that could follow up. Just be a huge pain for any AD carry. And even if they go with something like a Jace into the matchup of Gnar, it's still going to be valuable. They go with Rumble or the Wukong into the Gnar instead, but now you've got double knockups for the team fighting. Their team fighting just cannot be beat right now.
Yeah, there's last pick Orianna as well for Saligo, so going back to a bit of comfort here, and is going to be Lee Sin jungle once again here for Acadian. So did kind of have like a very classic composition, right? You got your tanks, you got your control mage, your good early game jungler, and then some nice scaling with a bit of protection there for your bot lane. TSM definitely more in the new school of things, right? Set Wukong, so 80 solo laners with the AP jungle in Rumble, but very curious to see how things match up. I do agree with you. I think in any sort of 5v5, if TSM have their ultis ready, it is very hard to get through all the buttons they press. But if they can find the right angle, if Jinx can find one reset, it doesn't take much for her to take over a team comp if she's got her items. So I agree with you that it is a tough meta to play Eddie carry in general. Very curious how Spawn navigates this. Although he does have a little bit of help on his side. The team's somewhat built around this pick.
AD carry and control mage. Some would say a classic composition could also just be labeled old, outdated even. Right? I don't mean, these are two really immobile carries that are dealing with the most ridiculous of engages from TSM Academy. So if Dignitas QNTM can actually pull this one off, hats off to them. But I believe that they are fighting against the current in the way that the current game is being played. And so they are doubling down on what they believe to be their strengths as players, as Soligo and Spawn have been playing these kinds of champions for a very long time, but will have to be extra on points today to deal with what TSM is going to throw at them, because they are going to be relentless in their ability to engage and pick on these members, especially when their flashes are down.
Right, well, chilling out right now. Not relentless at all, actually. Just everyone's fanning out. Hyper is going back. What happened? Maybe refilling a potion. Maybe he got poked out a little bit. Might have swapped his trinket. I didn't actually get to see in time.
I think it was the trinket swap.
Alright, that makes sense. Does have the sweeping out, which is always nice. Take over here. Gonna go ahead and team up and maybe help with the old leashing. Or maybe that's your son's job here on the Nautilus, as he is ready by the red buff alongside Cody and Hyper. And will indeed be helping out there for the bottom lane here.
Both junglers getting help from their lanes and starting on opposite sides of the map. It's one of the favorite beginnings of jungle pathing, since it guarantees us most of the time that some action is going to happen early. Lorlo starts Hop to avoid Hanser, because this early game from Wukong can be really devastating. He's just going to try to dash at Lorlo every time it's off cooldown, and he has to make sure he stays in XP range while it happens.
Alright, well, Lorlo getting the poke in there. Wants, again, has to be a little bit respectful, but Wukong does have a pretty easy way to get onto Gnar, right? This is pretty common in mini Gnar matchups. Aurelia, probably the one that springs to mind the most. When you're thinking of, like, champions that do well against Gnar, is that you want to be able to punish him when he's in mini form. Wukong can, of course, get on top. Oh. That was an interaction, my goodness. AJ and your son kind of figuring out which hook has priority, and he just kind of chilled out there.
Yeah, that could have been pretty cool, but I'm not going to cast a word on how that interaction works out every single time. That seems like it was a minor, tiny little moment, although usually the Nautilus can hook himself out of Thresh if he times it right. And we're going to just take a look at Acadians going straight for red buff, maybe looking for some violence after this, as the early ganks have been paying off in the previous series, so why wouldn't it now?
Acadians pretty quickly moving through his jungle here. Looks like his full cleared his blue side. Maybe going to do the same here on the red side. We know Hyper, if he can get away with it, it's just going to be full clearing here. Maybe zooming towards that Scuttle camp. But Acadian is actually going to go ahead and clear all these out as well. So we'll see what happens. There could be a fight for this Scuttle. Haunts are already pushed up in top lane. Does make it feel like it's a bit easier on the TSM side. But Soligo is pushing in takeover with the Orianna versus that set. So Hyper's going to get there first. Does have the smite. Acadian's going to reveal him, though. And Hyper's just going to relax here and take his time. Actually doesn't want to smite by the looks of things. So already level 4 there for the Rumble. Acadian's actually just going to have to walk back to safety. Is now bottom side. Yosun going in. JJ and Spawn doing what they can to fire back. A flash already used by Nautilus. So credit there for the heal of the Jinx.
It looks like they saw a play that they weren't entirely coordinated with. They got the heal out of Spawn at the very least, but that seemed like it really didn't do much. Dignitas' bottom lane was not worried at all. They have Acadian pathing towards them. They're just going to take the recall here, try to get a nice base before Cody and Yursen get to push out their lane. And without their jungler being down there and knowing that Hyper started on the bot side, well, it's better to be safer rather than sorry and getting ganked. So they take the recall, and in fact, it's only going to be Spawn who actually goes back. JJ stays, and maybe he'll try to freeze this lane.
I'll have to keep an eye on that as Hyper continuing to farm up again, cycling those Krogs. Cody in the bottom side lets the W rip. It doesn't hit JJ as he's trying to freeze, but that hook incoming from the Nautilus means he has to relax that particular plan. But Acadian is down here, red buff ready, level 4 Lee Sin. Yosun, the easy target there with no flash. Now they suspect something's happening. Good dodge up there from Yosun to get out from the resonating strike, and JJ's going to have to lantern in Jinx, but Yosun's already out, and TSM are going to dodge that very deftly.
I don't know if you even call that a gank attempt. It was very
half-hearted. Oh, it was an
attempt. Yes. Someone tried something, and it just really did not even phase TSM at all. So JJ burning his flash right away is the cue that there's just no way that Thresh can actually weave in a hook through the creep line. But Lee Sin showed his hand, path himself downwards, while Rumble now gets to go for his own gank in the mid lane.
Now Hyper's here. Oh, just missing. Oh, now, never mind. Flash in with an extra harpoon. Hyper now can't follow. The Soligo does correctly flash over a pretty hefty wall. But nicely played on both sides, actually. Flash or flash. Always happy as a jungler to burn the mid laner's flash there.
Especially when your mid laner keeps his own, and when it's a set, because now he's level 6, has the flash available. All it's going to take to revisit that lane is take over to a flash, stun into an ultimate, and Soligo will be dead again. So TSM now have a really easy avenue for a first blood if they choose to take it, which is ganking Soligo. That's something that Acadian and JJ have to keep in mind. Finding vision and protecting their mid lane is imperative for the next few minutes, because you do not want to be falling behind to the set and the Rumble. The Sets is going to be able to tank the Orianna, will be able to shove her in, and will just be diving your side lanes over and over when the ultimate is available. So, protecting Soligo and the side lanes is #1 priority when you're playing these Orianna Jinx carries.
Oh, Hyper just going to steal that away. I think Acadia got it, but what's going to happen now? Takeover, flashing in for the face breaker, pulls back Acadian, but can't find the angle for the ulti.
Whoa.
And now the hook's going to land. They're into the chompers they go, but your son now going to try and save Cody, who is exhausted. Damages their spawn with the rockets. Does force him back as Cody has to burn both sums.
Nice hook out of JJ there. Cody-san kind of backstep into it. Got to burn his summoners for it. But that fight in the bot lane, I think, pales in how important the mid lane was, where Takeover burned his flash and didn't actually get to kill Soligo. I think he thought the Facebreaker would be able to tag both members. It only catches Lee Sin, who burns his own, but it's not such a big deal because it didn't net you a kill, and Lee is way more mobile and will be just in the jungle. And so now Orianna gets to free farm and gets to shove, and that's exactly where she wants to be, taking advantage of her range.
Equalizer here in mid lane. Takeover running in again, ready with the ulti, but can't find it there. Soligo is there now. Haunts are in trouble, spinning around. Does get Lola, but he gets moved into the wall. Both clones in. Second spin, but I don't think that's enough. The Q is hit. Acadian's in, and there is first blood for Lee Sin.
Good timing there out of Dignitas. Haunter was ulting. He did have flash, but the wave was pushing. He needed to crash that. He was hoping that with the ultimate he would be able to actually fend off Lorla, but with Acadian pathing straight up there, there's no way he can kill the wave and escape the 1v2s. TSM get a dragon though, so they actually are getting something for their troubles, but a fight might break out. JJ has no flash.
Yeah, hook again. There's a good shockwave, finds 3, but actually Takeover buffered the ulti through, and now JJ's going to die to Hyper, but Hyper himself going to have to be careful here. Slows down Soligo, gets tagged up by Acadian, who does finally trade on the back end. Now Cody's son in trouble, but TSM disengage.
Good collapse there out of Dignitas. JJ went a little bit early and so ended up dying for it, but at least the rest of the team was able to follow up and get a crucial kill onto Hyper. They're going to be able to shove out this wave as well, so good resets will be plenty abound for the Dignitas bot and mid, so they don't actually end up losing that much. The early dragon won't be such a big deal since they'll be looking at team fight much later on. This is a good position for them.
Yeah, gold up for Dig actually, so feeling comfy despite losing that early objective. Really plenty of game left to play, of course, as we do see the Iron Spike whips finish for both Set and Lee Sin. As we'll watch this one again. JJ a little too far forward here, but great shockwave is unfortunately not enough to save him.
Yeah, it looks like he's just dying right there so easily, but Acadian, with a crucial Wardhop to actually cover a larger distance, ends up connecting that final Q onto Hyper, and that makes it all worthwhile. You trade a support for the jungler. Yeah, you lose the dragon, but it's an early Drake. Might be able to fight for this Rift Herald, and that will be more important in these early games, although it looks like Dignitas is not even close to responding to this objective. Your son is already here, while JJ is just now starting to move with Acadian.
It looks like they will lose this Herald here, but Soligo is rotating over. Doesn't have the shockwave up just yet, but TSM are going to be forced to back off this Herald. Haunts are Hyper, ready with their ultimates. Hook is landed there. There's the equalizer down. Soligo, the easy target, does have the shockwave back and ready, but Haunts is going to flash in, spin around, and take him out. And now Acadian's fighting Takeover, but Takeover is kind of trapped within a 1v4. Pops the W, but not enough as the Herald does go over. But Lolo now trying to chase Hyper there. Look, gets him into the wall, does find the stun, but Yosan fighting up there, flashes out of the box out from Thresh. Now Ulti going to get zoned up by Yosan, but he's dead. Now JJ, we're going to try and pull in Spawn, who gets one kill. Now the Lantern is there. Haunts are getting out of there, but Lolo is going to chase him. The dive is incoming. Acadian going to miss that Q after a nice dodge there. And actually, JJ a little too far forward, but Lolo able to take down Haunts. Dignitas finding the dive. They get them all. It's only Cody left alive.
They get a return kill on Acadian, which was a shutdown, but still Dignitas is just there to make sure that if TSM is going to commit to that Herald, they don't go down without a fight. They just got so many kills. They're going to crash the wave in the top side, and Lee Sin is even more fed than he is before. So a key thing here is that your son is not even level 6, so there's no combo with the Nautilus and the Equalizer. And so Hanser has to flash to commit even more. And Takeover doesn't have his ultimate. He's stuck really far back. Hanser has to go all the way around. They're entirely split. And so by the time that Cody-san arrives, as they suspected that the fight was going to go their way much more than it did, he just has to run away. The fight's already over. Dignitas wins it. And I think Hanser here could have ran a bit more towards the left instead of pathing straight towards the wall, as it gave a good opportunity for JJ to flash play him. And then Hanser, for part of Acadian, actually goes down. It seems like he may not be running Triumph, and that's why he didn't heal back up. So that'd be weird. I'm pretty sure he is.
Not bad for Acadian. He'll take it, even with the death there. Does have the gold drinker already finished, so pretty strong at this point on the Lee Sin. Soligo also feeling pretty comfy. Got a significant lead there in the 1v1, but said, of course, more about the side lane and the roaming, as Acadian is about to catch Hyper here, but Lolo the target. Hyper out, ready to go. Equalizer is good. Lolo not quite transforming yet, but now Acadian going to run interference, and Hyper can't win this 1v1, so Hanser has to come back and try and save him. Good flash there for Hyper, but he gets tagged by Acadian. Lolo's going to finish it off after all. What a great counter game by Dignitas.
Well timed. They got summoners out of Hyper, the ultimate as well. Acadian did burn his, but he is just off to a roaring start. All the criticism towards Lee Sin maybe not being such a good jungler, every single time that happens, he's just playing every single game with more kills and a higher participation than anybody else. This champion just finds its way onto action every time we see it on the screen, and Acadian is no stranger to this pick. It's one of the most practice that he's got in his years as a League of Legends professional. So him playing Lee Sin right now probably feels like his comfort zone, knowing that the meta has finally shifted back to something that has a little bit more mechanical proficiency behind it.
Don't believe the lies, Crumbs. Lee Sin's always good.
Yeah. It was hard not to. Udyr was being very compelling with his hearsay.
That's true. That's true. No idea yet today, though. Feels good, man. As Dignitas eyeing up this first dragon for themselves, the second overall in the game. Hyper ready on the sideline. Think of a flash again. Equalizer down, a little miscoordinated, but good enough there as Hyper gets the kill.
That's what we needed to see a little bit earlier out of TSM. They didn't get it then, but now they have a Rift Herald that they can pop into the mid lane, and we're going to have to use it now despite Acadian being here, because wait a minute, Hyper, you're going to miss out on the gold. Oh no, that Rift Herald not going to get as much value as you would have liked to see it. It's about to run out. That actually would have been the only real opportunity to get gold on it. Just going to use it for the reset and maybe go straight to bot lane and help Cody-san out. But he's not even basing. This is just a mistiming on the objective use.
Yeah, we'll see when it pops, because yeah, it does get popped just then as it is running out. It will eventually make its way down mid lane, but Dignitas have plenty of time to respond to that. And Dragon is indeed going to go over to Dig as they equalize that particular objective. Still up about 1,500 gold, feeling good as Soligo working on item number 1. Divine Thunder is done in top lane. We'll talk about that later on, as Dignitas are going to stop this Rift Herald in its tracks.
Poor Shelly. She just wanted to get to the turret. She was born for that, really. That's her sole mission in life, and Dignitas prevented it from it.
Well, unfortunately, I imagine Hyper maybe just had it slip his mind, but we won't dwell on it there. As Lolo back to the top side of the map, 2-0-2 on the Gnar as well. Hold on a second. Acadians translated that advantage to Lolo here in that top side. Gnar feeling pretty comfy, although I imagine Hanser will be okay. Hanser definitely wants a team fight more than anything else, though. Doesn't want to stay in a 1v1 or even these 2v2s up against Lolo forever. Oh, Lolo misses the scoop. Almost finds it. Acadian is there ready to finish it off, and the dive is possible, but we know Hyper is there. We know Set's coming up as well. How much respect is Dignitas going to give? Enough. Soligo's even roaming to try and find it. Now Takeover's ready, but Soligo's going to spoon himself away. No flash for Set makes it a lot harder to get onto Orianna.
Yeah, they really want to kill the Orianna. He was just bored of looking for mid lane before he went to that, but now it's a 3-man. Yursen can flash over. Soligo does have flash, though.
Ulti ready for Yursen as well. Going to have to be a dive. What a great hook there. Soligo can't dodge it, and they don't even need it. Yursen earning that kill.
That was a great hook. That was just perfectly aimed. Soligo was trying to use his happy feet, tier 2 boots, to try to dodge away from it. Still had flash, right? So he could have actually just flashed away to try to survive, since the Nautilus would not have connected a hook to actually move himself
Oh, what
further.
a face breaker. Equalizer as well in the choke point. Set setting it up there for old Hyper, and now Haunts is zooming around there in the Beyblade. So that's 2 kills for Set. TSM with a great counterattack as Dignitas do overextend in the choke.
They got overconfident. So many of the kills on the gold was in these 2 members, and so they thought they could take down Hyper. They could take down Takeover by themselves, but to their surprise, the equalizer with the Nautilus, with the Set, with the Nar and Wukong, it's just too much. And now Takeover going for a kill onto spawn. This poor Jinx.
Gets the flash as well. Takeover does find the face breaker. Cody Sun instantly goes in. The W is there for the tanking, and Cody, one more order will do it. Oh, the tower! What a great slow there from Spawn to get the trade kill. And now Takeover is going to be found out. Soligo, the Alcove Gaming is not going to help this time. Takeover is just dead here. It's just a matter of how long. Facebreaker doesn't even miss. They do space nicely for that. And there's the play for JJ. Gets the assist and gives Soligo the kill.
Hey, that's worth it. That's 2 shutdowns for the side of Dignitas, but the action doesn't stop. Hyper does have flash.
Yeah, dead there to Acadian. Just caught in transition, I have to think. And now a 2v2 for TSM once again, but it's Lola and Acadian, the 2 strongest members on Dignitas. Going after probably the weakest here in the support. Flash kick, Yosan. Absolutely dead as Acadian claims kill number 5.
Hyper's flash was half a second from coming up. He got caught in the rotation to help out the Nautilus, and it just gets give. Dignitas finds a lot of gold back on the map, despite having been at the deficit when they first lost Soligo. When they lost at 2v2, they TP'd to kill Spawn, but they've answered back every single one of those plays with one of their own and continue to stay ahead in this game.
Yeah, the lead they have is similar to the one they had earlier. It's about 1,800 gold now, so it hasn't grown too much, but it was even right before Soligo took that tower in bottom lane, so really nice from Dignitas to keep momentum, keep initiative here, and maintain their advantage in this game.
So Cody is going to be building a collector here, but before we talk about his build, Hyper is just waddling around. It's one of those renegade mechs that are just being sold off to so many rumbles nowadays. You know, sometimes the drive mechanism just wants to do something that the pilot hasn't agreed to, and it just ends up in a crash and burn situation.
Well, Acadian there, getting very slightly fancy there with the kick flash, but just had to make sure that that kill was there, and indeed does secure it onto the Nautilus, which is nice. Happy to trade cooldowns here. No major objectives to really fight for, but Dig continuing to be aggressive here around their Lee Sin, which it makes sense. He's 5-2 and 3. He's got the Godric already finished. Working on item number 2. Everyone's got their mythics actually on both sides, except for the sports, because as expected, they are still a bit behind. Dignitas maybe looking to siege up mid lane here. Do have the Jinx, not bad at any sort of siege. Instead, Dragon coming back up, they're going to wander down there instead. In fact, Acadian's going to start it because it has just respawned.
It's a level 11 Rumble, so this equalizer in combination with Yursan is going to be devastating. Dig already lost a flash, and they're on the retreat.
Yeah, necessary flash for JJ. Good aim there for Yursan on the Nautilus. And in fact, Dig, Bolo not there in time and could TP, but there's no real vision for him to go to. So TSM actually just going to get that Dragon pretty easily. Even though Dig did seem like they were set up there, forcing that flash for JJ means that Dignitas don't feel confident. TSM will gain that Drake here, still behind in gold by about 1,000, but at least they're getting the powerful Ocean Drake and perhaps the eventual Ocean Soul on their side this game, with Soligo now being the side lane man.
I think despite Lorlo not having the teleport that he would have wanted, more importantly, he didn't have the Rage Bar. I think that's a key element in the TP from the Gnar. If you're just TPing Mega, or Mini rather, exhausted, even worse, it's just not worth it. And when the fight can be so explosive from TSM, there's no one that's interested in poking away. They know the fight would be over before he charges that and TPs it in. So they just give it up, and they're happy to look for another avenue where their carries are going to be a bit stronger.
Alright, well, TSM actually being more proactive now. Hyper and Yursan teaming up here as Acadian and JJ will do the same. Acadian doing a nice job shadowing Soligo in the side lane, especially top is the long lane for Dig right now. Whereas TSM have to contend with the same problem in the bottom side of the map, where Takeover feels quite a bit safer in the solo situation. It's just happily eating the waves that Lolo's pushing in. Does mean that Dig getting some control over mid as TSM resets. Spawn would love to throw a few rockets into the tower if he has time. But Cody here to meet the wave. I mean, that's not going to be all that easy, and Collector's already done, as you mentioned earlier, Crumb. So Cody feeling pretty comfy about the current itemization. Does feel like the teams aren't getting too hasty. And as I say that, of course, Acadian dives in. Cody with a good flash show, and that's a great CC turn on the other side. But Acadian not going to go down. Cody actually ulted in, and Hyper tried to finish him off. Flashed in there with the flame spitter harpoon and does not get it.
I was really close there. And it's only because Cody steps into the brush and gets a little bit tagged by Spawn that then Acadian gets to follow up. They got his flash, but Hyper trading his own, trying to kill the Lee Sin. It come at a cost of a lot of ultimates. Your son is hooked. Whoa!
Oh my goodness! Parallel flash hook onto JJ. Love the enthusiasm. Hyper's going to have to block the incoming rocket though for Jinx, and Dignitas can just keep on fighting here. Lolo going to zone out the rest. Dignitas are going to take the mid. Oh, Hyper just barely clipped the CC chain. It is so nice. And Soligo with Acadian wrapping around as well is going to finish off the kill as Dig do take the mid out of. Really nicely done there for Dignitas.
They see someone overstep. They don't hesitate to use the shockwave. They know that there's not going to be any follow-up. Everyone on TSM has already retreated, so a free kill out of Hyper. They even got the stopwatch. It's not going to be as painful as it usually is, since he will complete his hourglass right now, but giving gold over to the Orianna is always a dangerous proposition. She's been farming well. It's not as much as Cody's son, but when you have a control mage right now, just being able to speed up Spawn, keep him alive, and assist with Acadian, who's so powerful in going in and landing these shockwaves, the value that Soligo gets will be shown in these team fights.
Now we've talked about, the challenge of playing AD in these times. Definitely having an Orianna here for Spawn definitely helps out. But Soligo is just such a good Orianna player. I mean, this is true for a lot of mid lane players, right? But Soligo is definitely one of the champions he was known for when he first entered the scene. He was on, in Academy, and definitely a champion player should fear, especially given the rate at which he has farmed here and picked up those first two items. So Soligo definitely looking to put the carry pants on here for Dig. That Spawn also very well set up here on the Jinx. So Dignitas' comp, despite, what do we call it, the ancientness of it, feeling pretty good right now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are. They've been farming well. They haven't had any big 5-on-5s, and all of the answers that Acadian has found with the counter ganks on multiple side lanes have done really well at keeping TSM from helping each lane out. So it just allows Soligo to continue to farm safely. No one has been able to pounce on him in the side lanes, despite how we've seen how easy it is for Takeover and Hyper, or even Yurasan, to join up against Orianna and find a kill on her. They're doing a good job in making sure that their carries are being well fed.
Yeah, I think both teams kind of know what's up. The map's a little small right now for TSM, so they're definitely going to have some issues against this comp from Dig. I mean, Jinx can just basically walk up through lanes and up the towers, and not a whole lot TSM can do, is they're going to have to fight for this next dragon as well, most likely. Don't have to. They want to give it over to Dig, but I'm guessing they're going to feel like they want to, given their composition. They can get a pick pretty quickly here. Hyper with 2 items would look for a very juicy equalizer, but Takeover's trying to sneak into a brush. He's going to be spotted up by Lolo, who's going to clear out that control ward. And looks like Dragon's going over, but the hook lands in onto the front side. It is a steal out of Hyper. He found it there, and the equalizer's down at TSM. They've just found the team fight crumbs. We set it up in draft, and we forgot about it until now. There's a double kill out of Cody as Haunter combines with Hyper for a very clean team fight win.
That's all it took. TSM can now go to the Baron. There is Acadian alive. He'll have to run straight to it and see if he can get a steal. But everybody on TSM is alive. You have to believe that an attempt at a steal will be so difficult if TSM plays it well. There's also the Jinx rocket, but the engage from TSM in that fight was just lightning fast. Orianna didn't even get to pop the ultimate, didn't even get to flash away. They just got deleted before they had a chance to respawn.
Well, easy Baron take there for TSM. They take it pretty quickly, and they do actually push themselves ahead in gold. No, not even. Power goes down. Spawn makes me a liar there. So Dignitas hold on to their gold lead, but that's not going to last too much longer, Crumbs.
All right, I want to see this fight. Let's watch what happened to Soligo because this engage was pretty nasty. Yep, okay, look at what happened. It was Set who just punts Lee Sin into the team, stride breaks next to her to stun her, and then gets followed up with the Wukong knockup as well. This is why it's so difficult to play these immobile champions that aren't interested in these kinds of skirmishes because they have no way to deal with this engage from multiple angles. They can't tank it and they can't contribute when there's so much mobility and their spells need to be well positioned. It's really tough to play these Oriannas in these situations. Maybe defending the base would be a better scenario when the flanks are less prevalent. And so now Soligo, still with the flash, do a good job in defending TSM's Baron push.
Good flush for Yoson, has to get out of there. Ooh, actually turning it back around. The equalizer down again, and the choke point! And Cody Sun's on a killing spree. TSM coming alive with their compositions. Cody jumps in onto Acadia looking for the kill. Shockwave finds 2 as Cody does flash. He would have been the 3rd. And now the hook lands back in. There's the set suplex. Takeover takes down JJ. And that W takes the lantern with it as well, making it look awfully fancy.
Wow.
As Hornsa once again is spinning to win twice. Soligo gets taken out for the ace.
All right, this comp just beat them again in a clean ace. Last time they didn't kill everybody, but they on a single member went down, and here they just wiped the floor with them. I think the case is made, Pastry. One of these comps is the new school, and it is just beating the other one out of relevance. It is so effective at finding these fights. Just a single fight at 20 post minutes, and you get the Baron, and then you siege to end the game. That's what they're going for right now.
Yeah, TSM looking at anti-air. Another great hook there out of Nautilus. Although, though, he's going to find the stun because the rest of TSM didn't want to stick around, so Yosan feeling a little hard done by. But Lolo is going to take out the kill, giving that assist over to Thresh. And TSM are going to have to evacuate the area, but still so much damage done. They've taken out the bot inhib. They've set themselves up for the Dragon Soul in a minute 45. And not going to get their recall cancelled either. Haunts up with the grace of that little bit of recall as Dignitas are just trying something. We'll get nothing.
That was maybe the last hope for Dig, if they could actually get the recall stopped at a Hunts or maybe get a single kill with other members having base, but still the fights continue to go TSM's way despite Dignitas having actually a fairly good setup around it. The ability to follow up on each other from TSM was beautiful in that last fight. It was member after member just going deeper, and it looked like each one was overextending further than the last, yet then the next guy is able to follow up further. Set goes in, but then there's a Wukong right behind them, and they just tower dove between 2 turrets. It didn't seem to even phase TSM.
Yeah, looking good here for TSM. Those angles have just been so good. You said it, Crumbs. It's all about the flanks. And for Haunsa, alongside Hyper cutting off all the areas. And then Takeover kind of getting in there. Again, that topside threat. Looking a really nice hit. TSM side. So we'll see how they do. 35 seconds until the Ocean Soul is available for them, thanks to Hyper's great steal that even started the team fight around the Dragon. The Dignitas, not only do they have to fight TSM, who now have more gold than them with their team fighting comp. If they don't fight, they're going to lose the Ocean Soul, which makes fighting future fights practically impossible.
Against a bunch of bruisers, it's really tough because these are bruisers that thrive on sustain and shields, and Onser in the top side is looking for the ward to TP. There's one at the back of the wolf pit. That's what they're going. They're already set up in so many different directions. When the TP goes, TSM will pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, look at Takeover's flank there. Ward right behind him as well. As Haunter is going to channel it. And now the fight begins. Yosan a little bit caught out here. Haunter maybe a bit late. But the Dragon is actually the first thing here. Now Katie are going to kick him away and get the Dragon. They will get it. Yosan's actually dead here, but TSM now going to take the fight a little bit scattered on the other side. But Haunter's still spinning around. Now Takeover aiming straight for Soligo. Shockwave's out, but it doesn't complete as Lolo. He's going to die as well as Cody-san's got himself a triple kill. Man's on for the Quadra. The Penta unfortunately already taken away, but there's the Quadra Cody's after. And that's going to be game TSM Academy.
They're just too far ahead, and despite the flank not being as coordinated as it was last time, an equalizer that got the bottom lane of Dignitas splits off the Orianna. She's easy for the taking, and then TSM just steamrolled the fight. They only needed 3 to end this game, but those 3 fights were won with flying colors.
Yeah, made him look good here as Cody is taking out the mid tower for reasons I cannot fully comprehend, but I guess the man just wants a little bit more gold. As TSM will group together to finish off the Nexus and win Game 1 versus Dignitas.
They got a really strong team fighting comp, and you say there's some trends, Pastry, and I think you spotted one earlier. All 3 victories today have had a specific mid laner. The set in the mid lane. This pick is just making rounds. In fact, there was even the Nautilus as well in all 3 games. So the set with the Nautilus combination seems to be really devastating for teams that have just your traditional formation of carries and mages.
I will say the Nautilus accuracy so far in the games we've seen has been pretty unreal. Definitely not every Nautilus game is going to be quite that good, but both Yosun in this game and Isles in the last 2 games there for C9A, which was our last series. I've been looking really good on that pick here. But TSM Academy definitely felt scary at points there, right? Like, yes, Dignitas' comp kind of wants to go, to mid or mid-late, but Acadian and Lola really made it work there in the early game, which is great, right? When you could give your Jinx and your Orianna springboards in the early game to kind of launch off of into the mid-game. Definitely Dig were in a really strong position, but it's funny that we mentioned it once and then forgot about it because Dig were winning, and then we saw the first team fight. I was like, oh yeah, I remember what we talked about in draft. Yeah, that's what we expected to happen in a 5v5. Yeah. Look what happened in the 5v5.
Man, it's just really cool though, because they don't have to choose to go that direction. They can actually fight fire with fire. There's enough champions in the meta to just have 5 versus 5 of pure team fighting shenanigans happening and give us an entire show of fireworks around the objectives.
All right, we'll see what happens at game number 2, which is coming right up. We are going to a break, but don't go too far. There's more Academy on the way.